Hey everybody, check out this gorgeous card that I created. This card is, I don't know if there's really a name for it, but I'm calling it a zigzag pocket card. So there's two pockets in here for you to do some stamping, or you could even add photos or whatever you'd like, get a gift card. But it's a little zigzag created with printed paper. So I'm going to show you how to do that, as well as how I created this beautiful poinsettia featuring Stampin' Up's poinsettia, or let's see, poinsettia petals bundle. This is in our holiday catalog, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous stamp set. And I love the dies that go with it. So let me show you how I put it together, because it's pretty easy, actually. You know, if you watched me for a long time, you know that I'm not one for like really complicated cards, but I really liked this one, and it's pretty simple. So you're going to start with a piece of 5 1/4 by 12-inch printed paper. So I've got that here, and then I actually did this ahead of time, so let me show you. So here is my 5 1/4 by 12, and then I'm just going to cut a little hunk off. And I know you guys are sticklers for measurements, so let me take a look. I cut off approximately 1 5/8 inches on one end, and then I just went to the very corner on the other. Okay, so you would just put a mark at 1 5/8 inches and then line the two parts up, the very corner, tip of the corner to the edge right here, and then just cut that off. Okay, so you'll have that piece, and we don't need this piece. You can hold on to it if you want, but we won't actually use it. Now, the other thing I'm going to do with this is score this at 4 8 inches. So to do that, I need to have my arm out. Sorry, it's hard to get your trimmer in the camera. So on the straight edge, the edge I did not cut, I'm going to score at 4 inches. And at, oh, did that cut? No, it cut a little. You did not see or hear that. It did not happen. All right, and then I'm going to trim or score, pardon me, not trim, score at 8 inches. So 4 8 inches. And we're going to just pretend like this did not happen. Okay. So I'm going to take and fold this. And actually, depending on how you want to do this, you can fold it like this. This is my preferred method. And this, because I want this to be on the outside. Now, if this doesn't line up exactly right, this is where you get your bone folder out and you show it who's boss. Because sometimes you need to tell your paper who's in charge of your paper. And don't be afraid to do that. So with printed paper, that's usually pretty easy. So I'm just going to give it a good burnish. And now you can't even see where I cut that, so it's all good. Okay. Now, I'm going to, like I said, I'm creating two pockets, so one here and one here. And so I'm going to need to put some tear and tape down to hold those pockets closed. So I'm going to put a little line right at the edge. You really want to get it right down in there. And likewise, we'll go on the very, very edge of this. And that is where tear and tape is just so easy, which I love. Okay, so there's that end, and then we're also going to do that on this end. So I'll do it here and here and here. Okay. So at the very, very edge of each of these. Now, if it sticks over at all, just make sure you kind of fold it in, so to speak, before you adhere it. So I like to kind of burnish it with my thumb, and then this is where your take your pick tool is just always handy to get the backing off of this stuff. So I'm just kind of, oops, pull it up with my thing. And then do you see how that went over a little? I'm just going to run it across. Okay, so now I want to make sure this lines up exactly right. And then I'll adhere that down for that pocket. Okay, and then I'll open this up and do the same thing over here. Do a little burnishing with my thumb and then pull that backing right up like that. Oh, I just tell you this tool is so handy. All right. And again, we want to make sure that this lines right up. Now we've created our 2 pockets, which is fantastic. Okay. Next, what we need to do is go ahead and adhere this to a piece of cardstock to create our card. So this is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of soft suede. I was gonna say smoky suede, and I'm like, no, that's not right. I just put a brand new dispenser in here, so I gotta get things moving. Alrighty. And then I'm just gonna adhere this to my piece of soft suede. Okay, so that looks great. We've got our pocket done. We're gonna set that aside and do a little bit of stamping. So I need to stamp and die cut the pieces for my beautiful poinsettia. So to do that, I'm actually going to pull out my Stamparatus. This is just handy for these larger images. And so I'm going to I've got a scrap of Whisper White that I'll just put in here. And we'll take the side that doesn't have big old smudge on it. And I just want to make sure that these will both fit on here. So I'm kind of arranging this. There we go. So I've got this one, and then I pulled this one off, and I should have just left it on there. And then this one, and I can stamp both of these at once. Now I'm going to ink these up with soft suede ink, like so. And I just find it a little easier to stamp these larger images on my Stamparatus, because then I don't have to like try and work up with a giant block. It's just a little easier to do that with my Stamparatus. And if I mess up, I can restamp it, but this looks great. So I'll take that, and then I've got also the smaller little pine bough image. I'm going to stamp that in Pear Pizzazz ink on some Pear Pizzazz cardstock. So I'll stamp that 1, 2, 3 times. And then I will die cut both of these pieces out, and then we'll assemble our card. Okay, I have die cut these, and I used my magnetic plate, which is just so handy. And what I love about this magnetic plate, this just came out from Stampin' Up, is that it will work. It just adheres, and you can see, or I say sticks, clings, whatever the right term is. It doesn't kind of jog like the old plate used to. Do you remember that? If you had one of the old plates, it's real thin. It's really just like cutting plastic. So it works out just perfect. Okay, so next I'm going to take and do a little stamping on these, where there is this little, it's like a 2-step piece, and it will work with both sizes of our poinsettia. And by the way, I'm using the, let's see, I'm using the 2 largest sizes. I did not use the smallest poinsettia. Now I'm going to stamp these in Crumb Cake on here. And then in the very center, I'm going to also take and stamp this with a little Hello Honey. That is one of the colors that coordinates with this set. And then you can see these line up just perfect, like so. Isn't that awesome? Okay. Okay, so that looks great. Then I'm going to take and kind of wiggle the petals a little bit, and this just gives them a little dimension, and it kind of gives them a shabby chic look, I guess, or just slightly distressed. Not like they're upset distressed, but like they're vintage distressed. You know, the difference. So, like I said, I'm just wiggling each of these. Notice I'm holding the base of the petal like this, and then wiggling like the top half to 2/3. Okay, we'll take these two and set them on top of one another like so. And I'll use a glue dot to adhere the two of them together. Then I want to place them on a circle. I die cut a circle from the largest circle die in the layering circles dies, and I'm just going to place this on top, and we'll use a dimensionals to pop that up on there because we're going to tuck those green pieces underneath, and we're going to do the same thing to those that we did here. So here are my 3 pieces that I die cut. And again, oh, that magnet plate is so nice for these because I was using Post-it notes to hold everything in place for the longest time, and now I can just kind of tack them on. I also am going to rip off like a 1/2 inch off of each of these. It's just so that I can easily tuck them in underneath. Now I'm going to place this on my card, but actually, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. I do that when I get excited. The next thing I want to do is add a little bit of ribbon to this. I've taken this, what is this called? Embroidered ribbon. Oh my gosh, I think I called it textured ribbon. Embroidered ribbon. And we're going to wrap this around our card so it's just plain on the back, and then we'll cover up the ends with that circle on the front. Now to adhere this, I'm going to use some Seal Plus because it's just a little stickier, and it will work a little better with the ribbon to ensure that it stays in place. There's nothing worse than a card that comes apart when the adhesive doesn't stick, so I like to use Seal Plus for the ribbon part. Now, like I said, that circle will cover up all of this, so no worries there, because that's not so pretty. But now it is. Okay, so to adhere this, we'll put some dimensionals on top and on bottom of this to hold up our circle, and then we'll tuck those green pieces in. I wanted to have this on my card to ensure that I wasn't sticking these pieces in places where they would stick out beyond the limit of the card and then thus not fit in the envelope. Of course, we don't want that. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3 of these. Like I said, I just ripped off that bottom edge. So then what I can do is just kind of tuck that pine bough in. It's so pretty. And we'll put maybe one here. And finally one over here, like so. So that looks just gorgeous. Now to finish off the front of this, I'm going to use some of my in color enamel dots, and I'm just going to put 3 of these in the center. I did stamp on them, which I think is great, but then I just thought this made it look even fancier. And what's nice is this is a flat embellishment, so it doesn't take up much thickness on your card, which is great. Now we got to do our little inserted cards, and for that I have 2 pieces. I've got a 2 3/4 by 4 inch piece of crumb cake, and then a 3 1/2 by 4 1/2 inch piece of crumb cake. And we just want to do a little stamping on those. And I can't even remember what I did on them. So let's take a look at my sample. Okay, now I remember. I've got my large, well, this is kind of the, I want to say the fancy, the fancy poinsettia. The other 2, you know, were just the petals, and this one is a little bit more involved. So I like this, but I wanted to stamp it on here and not be quite so dark. My sample looks good, but I think if I stamped off a layer of that ink, it might make it even better. So I'm just going to do that. I'll stamp off a layer of the ink, and then I'll stamp the rest in the corner here. And I kind of like that softer look, because then when I stamp my sentiment over the top in some soft suede ink, it will stand out even better than my sample. Oops, I want my sentiment. Haha. Okay, so may the magic and wonder bloom this holiday season. And I like that. It looks just a little bit more vivid. And then finally, I will take this little branchy piece and I'll stamp a couple of those on here. So maybe one up here and one down here. That's full strength. And I'll add the Happy Holidays again in my soft suede ink, like so. Now, so that you can get those little these little pieces out of the card, we're going to take some more of our embroidered ribbon, and I'm just going to cut, like a 2-inch piece, and then I'm going to staple this on. Now, if you don't have a mini stapler, I'm actually using, we had one many years ago from Stampin' Up. If you don't have that, a regular stapler will work just fine. But I'll just staple that little bit of ribbon on. And again, this is nice and flat so that your card isn't going to be too thick because of the stapling of the ribbon. If you were tying knots on here, that would probably get pretty thick. Okay, now I can take and just tuck these pieces into my card carefully. I'm saying carefully because I cut that edge. I just don't want to rip it any further. And I'll put that one in there, and there you go. Isn't that a gorgeous, fun, different card? I think this would work great for a lot of different papers, and it really shows off both sides of your printed paper, which is really fun. So I hope you loved this card. Now, all of the supplies that I used in this are found on my blog. They're also listed in the description of this video, so make sure and click on the See More so that you can order them. I would love to welcome you to my VIP Rewards program and take amazing care of you as a customer of mine. You can also click subscribe right here, and you won't miss any of the videos that I post, including my next video, which is going to be tonight. It's my Stampin' Game night. And then don't forget to give me a thumbs up because that helps too. Thanks so much for stamping with me today, guys. I had a great time with you, and I hope you did too. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.